Hi, I'm Alicia Michelle, and as a trained and certified Christian mindset coach, I've helped hundreds of Christian women discover brain science based mindset tools to help them grow closer to God and break free from anxiety, perfectionism, people pleasing, and feeling like they're never enough. The Christian Mindset Coach is the award winning podcast that shows you how to use simple brain science principles and biblical truth to renew your mind for lasting confidence, joy, and peace. I'm so glad you're here. Grab a cozy spot and let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Christian Mindset Coach with me, Alicia Michelle. Last week, we tackled one of these issues that surrounds us at the holidays, at least if you're an American living in the US, and we deal with Thanksgiving, that idea of toxic gratitude. But there is this, of course, overarching issue that we need to talk about when the holidays come around. Holidays are stressful. Holidays are crazy, especially when it comes to our emotions, not just stress of things to do, but wow, they bring up every kind of emotion that we can think of: loneliness, grief, happiness, comfort, excitement, peace, exhaustion, overwhelm, all of these things. We can feel like we are bouncing all over the place emotionally during the holidays. And it's really obviously a different experience for each person, but there are so many emotional triggers during this season. I wanted to dig into that and talk about that today with you guys because we have to figure out, first of all, what's going on inside of ourselves during this. And we can make a plan to help ourselves address what could be coming and get ourselves into a healthier emotional state so that it's not quite so up and down, in and out, crazy that we're feeling emotionally. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First, let's talk about why. Why are the holidays full of these emotional triggers? Well, let's just mention a few of them. First, there are people and situations that we have to deal with that frustrate us. Maybe there's family members that you rarely see, but every holiday season you end up needing to interact with them. Maybe there's situations where, again, part of these family situations where you're having to travel to this person's house that you didn't really want to, and maybe somebody changed the rules this year and you're used to having it a certain way. We were just talking about that recently in the Emotional Confidence Club. There's all kinds of stuff that can come up with people and situations. That's probably one of the biggest triggers during the holidays, right? Then, of course, there's the idea that we have overcrowded schedules. One of the most frustrating things about the holidays is that we have these, honestly, of course, amazing experiences that we get to have: Christmas pageants and get togethers and dinners and galas and really, truly amazing things we get to do. But at the same time, we are still doing the everyday things. We still got to do the laundry. We still got to take care of our animals and go to the store and take our kids to practice or go to work. All of the responsibilities are still the same. And many of us who are already overwhelmed and stressed just by everyday life, it's like, okay, now I have to add in these other things. It just adds this level of emotional tension that really can set us off. Then, of course, there's the pressure to perform, to get the right gift, to be at all the events. There's this seasonal FOMO that comes upon us where we're like, I have to do this. What if I miss out? Not even I have to do it like, this is a family expectation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, oh, that would be so fun. And oh, but we need to have that experience. Now, I'm raising my hand here because, girl, I am definitely guilty of this. I am somebody who wants to experience all the things and see all the sights and make sure everybody has all of the chances to experience this, especially like as a mom. And so I really have to watch this because I'm like, okay, let's go here. Okay, let's go there. And thankfully I have a husband who's like, okay, do we really need to do that and this? So definitely, though, an added pressure because when we bring all that in, there is more things to do. There is more things to plan. There's more people to get around, more chance for bad attitudes because people are being dragged around. You know the rules. You know how it goes. There's also travel. Many of us travel during the holidays. Also, again, a good thing, right? Seeing new places, going different experiences. Some of us love that. Others of us are like, yeah, no, I just want to be home. I'm just happy to be in my house. I just want to stay home and not have to go anywhere. And some of that travel is to places that maybe we wouldn't choose. A lot of us have to use our vacation time to go take care of these family expectations that maybe you're like, I really would rather have just gone to Hawaii for a week with everyone. What about you? I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Of course, we want to do these things and be together and experience them. And there are very positive sides of that. I'm not diminishing that. Please hear me. We have wonderful experiences with family every year, as I'm sure you do too. But there is an element, an added stress of travel. It could be an added expense. All of the plane tickets. It could be weather delays. Oh, my word. Think about that. All of the stuff that goes on with that with travel. And then there are these sides of the holidays that trigger us like nothing else. And that is the grief, the disappointment, the things that aren't a hallmark ending in our life. They become extremely underscored and highlighted during these seasons. Maybe we've lost a loved one. Maybe we have gone through a divorce. Maybe our son or daughter has walked away from the faith and we're estranged from them. There's just so many things. There's so many things. Maybe we're not healthy enough to go to a family event because we're walking through cancer or some other really challenging illness. There's so many things that can come up, and the holidays trigger so much of that. Now, the last reason why it can be emotionally triggering in the holidays is there are positive things too. And positive emotional stress is still emotional stress. The holidays are filled with fun activities. And let's not forget about all the great food. I mean, it's wonderful to have all of these tasty treats and appetizers and all the seasonal things. I mean, we all love our peppermint mochas and all of this stuff. We enjoy the change of scenery, maybe seeing family and friends, a chance to get alone with the Lord and connect with Him, to read devotionals that are about the coming Messiah, to hear the Christmas story. These are amazing, amazing experiences at Christmas. And they bring up emotions. They may bring up emotions of things that of traditions in the past that we're so excited to share with our kids. And, all of this just is good, but also can be an emotional drain. So whether emotions are pleasant or not, we are experiencing a higher level of emotions during the holidays, and this can easily bring mental and physical depletion. So the focus that we're going to take in this episode is how can we prepare ourselves, recognizing that this emotional stress during the holidays is going to happen. It's not something that is necessarily unavoidable, but we can prepare for it. We can get ourselves to places where we can have plans of action. We can set ourselves up well to respond in certain circumstances. And we're going to talk about that today. Holiday emotional stress is a reality, but it doesn't have to steal the blessings that God has for this season. I want you to hear that. You do not have to get derailed by holiday stress so that you can't even enjoy the beauty and the gift of celebrating our Savior at Christmas. You may not be able to prevent some of the situations that trigger these emotional challenges during the holidays, but friend, you and I, we have the ability to help diffuse the emotional overwhelm and challenges. In order to do that, we are going to talk about 3 ways today to diffuse that emotional overwhelm of the holidays, okay? How we can help ourselves through this. Because remember, we are in charge of our mindset. We are in charge of our actions. We are in charge of our decisions. That's what we're in control of. We can't control other people and their decisions, how they're going to show up, if they're going to show up, what they're going to say, what's going to happen in a situation. We can help ourselves make the best decisions with our mind, our actions, and by preparing in a few ways. First, we can make an in-the-moment plan to address these known emotional triggers, certain people, certain circumstances, certain situations. We can say, you know what, I know we're going to go to this place and I know this certain situation's probably going to come up. So what can I do? We can role play what can happen. We can make wise choices around boundaries. We can maybe limit our time at that place. We can decide maybe not to go at all. So we get to decide before it comes up what we're going to do with these known emotional triggers. Now, again, there may be things that come up that we don't know about, that we didn't prepare for. Life is full of unexpected things that come up, of course. And that's why the second thing is so important. We need to know how to offer ourselves extra support for our overall emotional stability during this season. We need a maintenance plan for everyday emotional calm. We talk about this in the book Emotional Confidence. we give you the tool of ADD to process an emotion, but we talk about not only ways to bring calm to our body using something we call emotional prep. There's a whole chapter on emotional prep, but we also talk about habits and lifestyle choices that we can use to strengthen ourselves emotionally. And these are the seasons where, friends, it is absolutely vital that we're doing that. I always give this example of a boiling pot of water on a stove. If we have a boiling pot of water and we just keep turning up the heat, what happens? Of course, the pot boils over. And we're not surprised by that because we know when we do that to water on a stove, that's the natural result of heat and pressure on water in a pot. So why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? And again, I'm laughing at myself as much as, anyone else here. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Why are we surprised when we find ourselves in situations where we are just about to lose it? Why are we surprised? Because we have allowed the stuff to build and build without a release valve. When we have kept ourselves in these places of just continuing on, pushing harder, not dealing with what's going on. So, developing a maintenance plan for everyday emotional calm. So we're going to dig into a tiny bit of that towards the end of this episode. The third thing that can be really helpful is to identify and purposefully cultivate the emotions that you want to experience this holiday. Maybe those emotions are gratitude, contentment, peace, expectancy, joy, a reverence for God. What are the things that you want to cultivate? So we're being proactive in those situations, leaning into those emotions. What kind of activities, mindsets would develop that? So we can talk about that. Now, I'm going to address these things using several of the tools from Emotional Confidence. And if you haven't already picked up the book, I encourage you to pick it up. You can get it now. It's available everywhere books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, all the places where you would get a book. You can get it there. And I encourage you to pick up a copy. There's an audiobook too if you're someone who would rather listen to the book. And there is a Kindle version. So lots of different ways to get the book. And those things are important. I want you to have a deeper understanding of some of the concepts I'm going to talk about here because there's only so much I can cover in a podcast episode. And I also want to just say, before we talk about those three things, I want to do a little groundwork. I want to say some things and set some truths here before we come up with our plan, those three things to help us stay calm. First, I want you to ask yourself why. Why is it important? Why is it important to prepare yourself for these emotionally triggering situations? Why is it important to create a plan for additional support for yourself, to intentionally cultivate certain emotions? How will doing that, how will that change how you and or your family, how will it change how you experience this season? Every person's going to have a different answer to that question. For me, I always go back to, there were two very specific seasons, actually three, but two main ones, where I had to very intentionally manage what I was feeling and what we were involved in because I was giving birth right at the end of November, and I knew that was going to affect the holidays. So I dramatically changed and made a plan for how I was going to address some of the holiday experiences, some of the attitudes that I wanted to focus on, how I was going to cultivate and, again, support myself emotionally. That was different in those seasons because I had a brand new baby and I knew that I was going to be up nights and I was going to be nursing and feeling tired and I wouldn't have time to maybe take care of some of these other things. So asking yourself why. Why in this season is it important for you to do some of this work to emotionally prepare yourself for the holidays?
Hey, it's Alicia. If you have a hard time managing or even feeling your emotions, you are not alone. How do we know what we're feeling, especially when our emotions are so overwhelming and confusing? And what do we do with those feelings, especially as Christians who want to follow Jesus? If you're ready for more peace and calm in your emotions and to get off the crazy emotional roller coaster, you will love the practical strategies that I share in my new book, Emotional Confidence: 3 Simple Steps to Manage Emotions with Science and Scripture. You'll learn the 3-step process that I have taught to tens of thousands of women to partner with God to manage emotions. You'll learn how to handle emotional overwhelm, overthinking, and avoidance, to acknowledge feelings without judgment, to process emotions through God's clarifying lens of truth, and to courageously choose a scriptural response. Yes, you can honor your feelings without compromising biblical truth. Let me show you how to use both science and scripture together to become someone who handles her emotions with confidence. Learn more at aliciamichelle.com/emotional-confidence.
And then I want to talk about these two important concepts as related to this, and that is responsibility and control. I did an episode a few weeks back on responsibility, meaning what are you responsible for and what are you not responsible for when it comes to emotions. And so if you want to check that out as an accompaniment to this, I think that would be really good because we dig really deep into that. And I can only just kind of cover the surface here. But I want you to consider, what are you responsible for emotionally during the holidays? What is in charge for you to own? What's there? Are you picking up things that you're not emotionally responsible for? I'm just going to be real blunt about that. Other people's expectations of you, other people's experiences, what you want them to have. What are the things that you are trying to own that can't be owned? This year, I'm thinking about this because there was a certain experience that I've always wanted to do as a family. And my husband and I brought it up to our kids as, wow, what if we did this year during the holidays? And we were excited about it. We're like, yeah, let's do it. And my kids were all like, not really, And I was like, well, why? I didn't understand that. And I wanted them to have this experience that I felt like I should give them, or maybe we could have together. And I was trying to set the stage to make that happen. But I realized if they don't want it, why am I trying to force this? Why am I trying to do that? And they're content and happier with this other experience that we've always done. So let's just stick with that and stop trying, Alicia, to force them to feel something that they don't want to take up. So I was tempted to feel like, oh, well, all the feelings of feeling sad and sorry and lonely and all the things of like, well, why wouldn't we? But the Lord reminded me that I'm not emotionally responsible for other people's experiences or whether or not they want to do something. I'm responsible for being me, for showing up how I want to show up, interacting with Him in ways like that. And again, the things that we do, I think this is especially true for us as moms, the things that we plan for our families and we put so much time and energy into, we have to hold them with an open hand. And that's so hard for me too, friend. I hear it. We have to hold them with an open hand and say, I did my best to make this a fun thing. And if it's something that they experience as a fun too, then that's a blessing. So understanding what are we emotionally responsible for and what we're not emotionally responsible for when it comes to the holidays. The other thing is the control aspect. What are we able to control? We kind of touched on this in the beginning. We are in control of our mindset. We are in control of our actions and decisions. And honestly, someone would push back on this, but we are in charge of our schedule. I hate when people tell me that. Honestly, can I just say that out loud? Because I feel that way too. I remember there's been several times where I've overscheduled myself and I've come to my husband and been like, oh, I'm so busy. We have this and this and this going on. And he's like, well, who put together that schedule? Like, did you put that together? And I'm like, you're right. You know, like we are in control of our schedule. Now, I know there's some of you who are saying, "Oh, well, not really, Alicia, because I have to go to this place and we should see this person." And I was just having a conversation with a friend about this the other day. She's like, I just want to get rid of the shoulds this holiday. Like, I don't want to feel like I should do this or I have to. It becomes this weight where I want to go do these things. And so, yeah, we get to decide within reason. I will throw that caveat. We get to decide what it is that we want to participate in. And honestly, there are times when we do need to set up some boundaries. And at the same time, there are times when we do have to push through. There are times we have to say yes when maybe it's not our first choice. Life isn't all, of course, about us. It's about being together. It's about serving the Lord. And there are things outside of what might feel pleasurable to do this holiday that we have to do. We're called to do. But I'm just cautioning us to not be in a place where we're so focused on the FOMO side of it and we're so focused on the should side of it that we end up in this emotional just blech, where it's just like, this is not where it is. So only you and I can find that balance with the Lord to know what our schedule is and how we're going to handle what honestly is a commitment we need to keep. And what are some things that we need to let go of that maybe we just don't need to do that this year? It's going to be okay if we don't do that. And then, of course, as part of that conversation, there are things that we are not going to be able to change. There are things that we are not going to be able to control, like we just talked about with holiday activities, others' opinions or expectations. And there are certain family dynamics. There are certain situations that even if we do our best, we can't control what someone might say, or we can't control the weather if we're going to be delayed because of a snowstorm. We can't control everything. And that is the part that we just have to understand and accept going into this. All right, so I laid all that out so that we can kind of be on the same table here, same place here, as to how to put together this plan to help ourselves be emotionally confident through the holidays. The 3-part plan. I want you to grab a journal or a piece of paper. You can pause me here, the magic of it being on a podcast. And I want you to write down some ideas as I'm going to be walking you through this. This is something that we do and we are doing this month in the Emotional Confidence Club, which is it's a membership, it's a group of other women who are practicing and living out the truths of emotional confidence, the things that we talked about. They are playing them out. They're experimenting with them. They're talking to other women who are in community doing this too. They're working with me directly to understand how they can apply these things. Every month we have a theme around managing emotions. And our theme for November was managing emotions through the holidays. So we talked about this. I've taught them some things around this. We've developed some plans. We have certain worksheets we worked on through this. So I know I'm not able to give you all of that here because we're on a podcast, but I want you to know that that kind of work is possible with me. And if you're interested in doing that kind of work, I will be telling you more about the Emotional Confidence Club in the future and future episodes, but you can DM me right now on Instagram and I'm happy to share more. So it's Alicia Michelle Coach on Instagram. I'm happy to share more with you about the Emotional Confidence Club. But I just want to share that if you're like, I love the idea of working through my emotions, but I really need extra help. I need to have other women to do this with. I need to hear other ideas. I want to work with Alicia on this. That's a great way to do it. So yeah, DM me on Instagram if you want to hear more about it. But creating these plans, let's talk about it. So the first part of the plan would be to look at the known emotional triggers and creating an in-the-moment plan to address them. So that's people, situations, circumstances, and of course, everyday activities that play a part here. Things that just have to happen, buying groceries, doing laundry, sports practice. How can you minimize the overwhelm in all these situations? With other people, what are some boundaries that might need to come up? With circumstances, how can we adjust things because of what's really happening right now in our life? I mean, maybe you have a husband who's going through chemotherapy right now. I mean, there's so many variable situations that affect what we might, what might cause us to do the holidays a little differently this year. So thinking about that, what are the triggers and how can I address them? Secondly, offering extra support for your own overall emotional stability, this maintenance plan for everyday emotional calm. What can you do to support yourself during this time? Now, I'm not talking about starting some crazy exercise regimen or just like, I'm going to do 50 squats a day and I'm not going to eat this and I'm going to do that. This is not a time to add a ton of pressure. Let's talk about some tried and true things that if I do these things, I'm going to be a little more emotionally stable. And just to give you some basic places to start, sleep. Sleep is a huge one. Maybe your commitment to yourself during this time is, I'm going to do everything I can to get 8 hours of sleep. You may decide to drink more water. Water is also a very important part of helping us stay emotionally stable. Watching the blood sugar levels, that's also up and down, the caffeine levels, all of that. Not saying I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to do that, but just kind of having a general way to say, when I take care of myself well, without maybe some crazy drastic way of looking at it, these are the things that are helpful. So what can you do to support yourself so you can be your best emotionally? The book Emotional Confidence has several ideas on how to do that if you're looking for those as well. Then lastly, identifying and purposefully cultivating the emotions that you want to experience this holiday. Like we said, gratitude, contentment, peace, expectancy, joy. What activities and mindsets can you say, what, if I do that, that's really going to help me build that, or it's going to help our family build that. And we can say, what activities steal that? What things are going to take away from that? Within reason, how can we limit those or put boundaries around those? This episode is something that I hope you come back to again and again, something you can look at year after year, because it is going to be different every year. Every time we come to the holidays, there's going to be different triggers. There's going to be different situations we're having to navigate. So I pray that this is a tool you can come back to year after year, and that if this is a tool that's helpful, that you will share it, because we want more people, of course, to learn how to manage their emotions through every situation. There are powerful and very practical tools that we can use. It's more than just, give it to God, or, just, work through it or push it down, or, just have more cookies and be happy. There really are very practical science and scripture-based tools that can help us through this. And I hope that you saw today there's some examples of how to do that. So if this episode was helpful, share about the book Emotional Confidence, because that's a great place to start. During the Christmas season, a lot of us have some extra time. Maybe the kids are off school, or we have some time off of work. It's a great time to pick up a book and start looking at some of these things and looking forward to the next year and maybe some things we want to change in our life. So grab Emotional Confidence and share about this episode with someone else who's feeling kind of stressed and overwhelmed. We want to help each other. We want to help each other through these seasonal kind of stuff. So friend, thank you so much for being here with me. I love these times. I love being able to share with you. I'm grateful for those of you who are consistently listening. It means a ton to me. I'm grateful for you every season, but especially the holiday season. So thank you. Take care. I'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me today for the Christian Mindset Coach. If you loved today's show, would you take 2 seconds and share a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts? I've got a special gift for you when you share a review, my amazing 50 I Am declarations, 50 statements and Bible verses about who you are in Christ. This is an audio meditation and a written statement that is extremely popular with my clients, and I want to give you access just for sharing your Apple Podcast review. Simply screenshot your review and send it to hello@vibrantchristianliving.com, and we'll send you the link to access the 50 I Am Declarations resource. Thanks so much for sharing your rating and review so that we can get the word out about the podcast. See you back here next week.